This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life. And we're back. Now, as you know, I'm a native Kansan, and I'm supposed to know a lot about Kansas. This young lady is not from Kansas, but she knows about a place I've never been, and it's going to be her next story. So I'm going to let her kind of tell you about a place called Russell Springs. And for those of you watching in Russell Springs, I apologize.
Well, I don't know if they get our signal there, but the reception's not so great in Russell Springs, I don't think, so they won't be too offended.
Okay.
And that reminds me, because I do a lot of speaking, you know, all over the country, somebody said one time, I wish you'd wear a sign when you leave the state that says, Kansans don't talk like this. You're right, I'm not a native Kansan, but I sure love it. And when I was out in the western part of the state, I got to go to Russell Springs the other day. I had been to I had actually been before. It had been 15 or 20 years, but it's on the old Butterfield Stage Route. So there is the Butterfield Trail Museum there, and I love it. I just love it. Tiny, tiny, tiny little town, but people working so hard to keep their history alive, and everybody volunteers, and they just, you know, it's just wonderful. I love it, and it's overlooking the Smoky Hill Valley there, and it's just, I love it. So you're going to love seeing it too. The museum won't open again till May. She actually, Debbie Mather came in and opened it for us just so I could get some pictures and stuff, but it will be open again starting May and be open all summer. So, and then there's a nice little hotel, so I'm going to tell you all about it so you can all make plans to go to Russell Springs.
Yeah, and the Butterfield Stage Line is an interesting story all of its own. So, anyway.
It's a great story. Stay with us.
On a rise above the Smoky Hill River sits the Logan County Courthouse, the centerpiece of Russell Springs. It used to be bustling when the business of government drew folks to the hamlet in droves. Russell Springs was the county seat for Logan County from its organization in 1887. Efforts to move the county seat to Oakley were defeated in 1937, 45, and 60, but in 1963, Russell Springs lost the election and the county offices were moved. It was thought that the building would be demolished, but a local historical association first met there in the fall of 1964, and the former Logan County Courthouse became the Butterfield Trail Historical Museum, opening in 1965. Some portions of the museum are just collections of stuff that belong to local residents, but I found two areas to be of special interest: the Messamore Fossil Collection and the courtroom. All of the fixtures were left when the court moved to Oakley, and the court is a 45-year-old time capsule. The annual Butterfield Trail Ride to benefit the museum began in May 1967. Early each summer, there is a 2-day event starting with a ride or walk of 10 to 12 miles, a 10 to 12 mile section of the trail, ending with a stay in Russell Springs for the night. We were about to go into Debbie Mather's quilt shop when we ran into Mel and Kathy Herschberger. They owned the Logan House, the original hotel built there in 1887. We had driven by on our way into town, and I was thrilled to have the chance to see it. I asked if it was a B&B, and Mel laughed and replied, "It's a bed and bring your own breakfast." There are 9 guest rooms and the original part of the hotel, and the addition has a kitchen, dining, and family room. Kathy said friends have called it her dollhouse. Most of their clients are hunters or family reunions, but they do get the average traveler tired of chains and wanting to experience a different time and place. Debbie then took us through the Butterfield Trail Museum. It's closed for the season, but will reopen in May. She opened it especially for us so I could take pictures to share with you today. The old courthouse, complete with jail next door, makes a wonderful museum, and I vowed to come back and spend time in the library. One of the most interesting artifacts was a set of plywood wings that one enterprising gentleman from Winona had built in the 1930s. The folks in Russell Springs are working so hard to keep their rich and unique story alive. It is well worth the drive.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. A high-energy, drought-tolerant crop, sorghum only requires 6 inches of water to produce the first bushel. And with its wide uses and easy adaptation, sorghum proves to be a truly indispensable crop. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.